Hi guys, this is Urvashi Jain and I'm back with a video. This time it's a video inspired by your comments on one of my last videos, which is how to prepare for your MBA calls. The very first advice that I can give you is do not start preparing for an interview when you get the call. Start preparing well in advance and trust me, you will reap the benefits. So I'm going to do very quickly 6 points on what exactly should go into your preparation and 3 points as to techniques which can make your preparation very, very effective. So point number one, save the form that you fill for your CAT or XAT or any entrance exam that you give, because as some of you may remember, there are certain subjective questions in your form. So when you're preparing for that college, they will usually have that form in their hand for the candidate that walks in. And if your answers do not match, already it's a problem for you. So you should remember those answers. Second point for you is make a CV. Why would I ask you to make a CV when anyway they would not refer to it? Reason is many of you may be freshers or many of you may be ones who've dropped your jobs and then prepared for these entrance exams, and therefore you've not updated your CV for a very long time. This is a good practice where you will get to put into perspective what you've done over the years and what are the kind of things that you would want an employer or an MBA college to know about you. Since an MBA college is also interviewing you to see if you are a person who can be placed easily, therefore an employer friendly profile would really help you during an MBA. A quick tip over here is reach out to anybody who's been into an MBA college before, ask them for their CV template, and then try to fit your profile into that CV template so that you have a very nice CV ready. It will also help you when you get into that MBA college, because trust me, the very first thing they make you do is make your CV. The point number 3 for you is that read newspapers. Now, this is a very common advice that you would keep hearing from people, but the timing matters. Don't start reading the newspaper right before your CAT or 2 months before your interview. Start reading the newspaper just when the thought of sitting for an MBA entrance comes to your mind. Reason being that when you've been reading a newspaper for say 8 to 9 months, you will have very informed opinions about issues as you would see them occurring and then see them span over a period of time. And another advice for you is whenever you're asked to talk about any social issue or any general knowledge kind of an issue, don't just throw facts at people. Give them a fact and then give them your opinion about it, because that's what's expected of a manager. Now, point number 4 for you is when I was giving my interviews, during that time, the coaching center time organized these interview prep sessions for us. I was fortunate enough to get a call from some good colleges, and therefore I was qualifying to sit for those sessions. But if I remember correctly, you could also pay for them and sit for those sessions. It's totally worth it. Pay for those sessions, sit for them, because they make sure to put up a very good jury together. This is, in no way am I sponsored or anything by Time, but this really helped me. They put up a really nice jury together who did 3 things for us. One, they trained us on social topics, political topics, topics of general knowledge, technology, so we could speak better on them during GDs and interviews. Second, they had a behavioral expert who taught us as to how to sit, where to keep my bag during interview, what kind of colors to wear. And the third thing was that there were interview panels. So the benefit of interview panels is they look at you, they know your profile, and then they would ask you questions which are sometimes very particular to your profile. So you are better prepared to handle things which might come to an interviewer's mind when they look at you or your profile. So for example, in my last video, somebody asked me that I'm a hotel management student and what kind of questions could come up to me. And my very first thought was, you've already done a degree in management. Why go for an MBA? Why go for general management when you have a specialized management degree? So yes, sometimes things which might not be so obvious to you might be very obvious to me. It's always good to get that kind of practice. The very last point is guesstimates. Now guys, what are guesstimates? For example, I ask you that what will be the population of under 4-year-old kids in Patna in 2020? That's your standard guesstimate. How could you prepare for your guesstimates? While there are amazing tutorials on YouTube, usually what we MBAs rely on is a book called Case in Point. It's a PDF, Case in Point, very easily available online. Get your hands on it, dedicate 2 days to it. You will really have fun with it, and you will understand how to handle these kinds of questions. Now, let us get into techniques which will make your MBA prep very, very effective. The first technique is the register technique. Now, what's a register technique? I have an example here for you. I hope you can see this. So, for example, this is my notebook whenever I am preparing for something I have to talk about. Now, how to prepare for an interview, since that's the topic of the video today, I write the heading and then I start writing my pointers, and then once my thoughts are ready, I make a paragraph kind of a thing on the next page. That's what you're supposed to do for your interview prep as well. Dedicate a register to your interview prep, and whatever questions you think may come up to you, put them as a heading on each page and then start filling up those pages. As and when points keep coming to your mind, just keep jotting down. And once you feel you have enough points for that kind of a question, make a nice 30 seconds paragraph out of each topic, so that when it comes to you during the interview, you're ready to answer that kind of questions. I've also made for you a list of roughly the headers which should be included in your register. So, for example, the very first thing which is obvious is tell us about yourself. I'm going to get into detail about tell us about how to handle a tell us about yourself question in a minute or two. But to move on, your strengths and weaknesses. One quick advice over here is usually we have something like let me decide 3 strengths about myself and 3 weaknesses about myself, and then what will happen is they will say, hi Urvashi, tell me some of your weaknesses, and because I prepared 3, unnecessarily I'm telling them 3 of my weaknesses. This is a very stupid thing to do. So prepare 3 weaknesses, tell them 1. If you feel like they want to hear more, tell them 1 more, and then it's okay. Just let it be. If they want to know your strengths, similarly, be humble. Tell them 1, which is your best. Tell them 2nd if they seem eager to know more, and that's it. Leave it at that. But always have an extra in case they want to put you in a spot. Always support your strengths and weaknesses with incidents as to why you believe something you believe in. Alright. Then comes your current affairs. Like I said, just go through the newspapers, whatever topics you feel, are being discussed a lot in those days, write them as headings and then just start preparing paragraphs on those issues. Then comes your CV. Like I said, each line of your CV. If you were the head boy in your school, what did you do? You were a sports captain in your college, you organized an NGO drive in your office. All of these things, have a 30 seconds paragraph, very crisp paragraph of your contribution to that effort ready. Lastly, future plans and why MBA. Please don't say I am good at numbers, therefore MBA. Okay, you better go and be a CA then. I like talking to people, therefore I am an MBA. Start a YouTube channel like me. Be very clear as to why you're doing your MBA. Everybody's reason is different. I would not like to give you an answer to that, because then it's just my answer is going to affect as to how you feel you want to do your MBA. Just think about it and the answer will come to you as to why in this stage of life you feel this is the best decision for you. And future. Now when they say future, they usually mean 4 to 5 years from now, where do you see yourself? 10 to 20 years from now, where do you see yourself? So a balanced approach to this question would be, career wise, where do you see yourself? Family wise, where do you see yourself? Even money wise, where do you see yourself? Or a designation wise, where do you see yourself? So think about it, give it a very serious thought, not just what somebody would want to hear, what you actually think is achievable and you dream for yourself should be your answer. Like I promised, the second question is, tell us about yourself, a technique as to how to handle this question. Now, I had an amazing guy who was my MBA mentor, and he told me that at certain times you have to leave breadcrumbs for the interview. Now, what is breadcrumbs for the interview? So, for example, one of my friends, her parents are bankers, and she was sitting for an interview for a bank. Now, how did we prepare her tell us about yourself answer? She would say that, hi, I'm XYZ, and Most of my afternoons after school have been spent at a bank because my mom happens to be a banker and so does my dad. So, right at the beginning of the tell us about yourself, she has dropped a hint to the company that she knows a lot about banks. Because she has dropped that breadcrumb for them to go on, she prepared a lot about what happens in the banking sector. What does this approach tell you? That your tell us about yourself answer should always be in accordance of which institute's interview you're sitting for, their vision and mission statement, or which employer you're sitting for. So you will always change your definition according to where you are. Yes, the basic facts will be the same, but then those are already covered in your form which you submit during the registration process. It's the story which should come out. Like, I did this, which led me to this decision, which led me to this decision, and I believe so. I am going to become this person during an MBA, and that's why I'm here today. It should all make sense. It should be interesting. It should, leave hints for them to go on and ask questions about, because your question is going to be a direct, like they say, the n plus 1th question is a function of the nth question. So whatever answer I give now, the second question is coming from that. Make sure of that. Now, the very last thing, one last advice that I would give you before closing is, when you're going for the interview, just quickly go through the newspaper that morning, because a lot of time what happens is, they will talk about some issue and some development has happened in the morning. So if you know and if you're updated, it really creates an impression. It just shows that you're a calm person. Even the day you had an interview, you had some time to just catch up on what's going on in the world, and you're bringing it to the table. It really makes a difference. So these are my tips and tricks for cracking your interview. Rest, I would say, be honest, be confident, be yourself, and it will go well. Prepare a lot in advance, because as it seems, talking is not easy as many of you would believe. It's really tough when we come to defining ourselves. Like I always say, please leave comments as to what you want me to share with you. It doesn't necessarily have to be about MBA. Anything which makes you feel will relieve your anxiety during this phase, I'm happy to do a video on it. And if you leave a comment and if you want me to do a video, please subscribe so that next time I put up a video, come to know about it, right? Thank you guys. Bye.